One of the most common problems that I hear from especially younger people with Islam, other than marriage issues, getting harassed by haram police, crises of faith, and so on, is struggling to connect with Salah. And I thought I would make a short video this Jummah, inshallah, to help you with that. So, first of all, scripturally, it's important to understand the story of the Baqarah and Surah Baqarah, where the Bani Israel are negotiating back and forth with Musa alayhi salam about the nature of their worship offering. They're sacrificing a cow. What color should the cow be? What kind of cow? How old should it be? And so on. And that the point of this story is to just do it and not belabor the point. So I think the first thing people need to appreciate is a better fiqh understanding of Salah. What is the purpose of Salah? The way that the fiqh has generally been organized, it tries to err on the side of conservatism by getting people to focus more on their Salah. And it offers a number of rules about what would break your Salah. So then you will be afraid of invalidating your Salah and you will be more mindful. The problem there is that this fear is somewhat against the whole purpose of the Salah. Taqwa is not fear of God, it is piety. Piety is a little bit different. It's fear of doing sins, but why? Because God would punish you, or because the sins are fundamentally in error, and you want to be in alignment. You want to tune in to what is right. This is a more nuanced understanding of piety, and it translates into how we approach Salah. So, a lot of these authors of fiqh, and there are many variations in the Hanafi school, doing a calculation in your head will break your Salah. In the Abadi school, if your nose isn't to the ground, if you misspeak one word, if you mispronounce Allahu Akbar, it invalidates your whole Salah. The Maliki school is a little bit more flexible. So this is my preferred fiqh within Sunnism. And in the Jafari fiqh, they have little clay discs, which are pretty cool. They put calligraphy in them and so on. And if you move your mind beyond this, you understand that the purpose of the Salah is to develop mindfulness. And then it helps to appreciate where Salah exists within the phase space of other types of prayer and meditation. So in yoga, we have the child pose, which is very easy. The other yoga poses are somewhat difficult. And even though in the West yoga has been reinterpreted as exercise, it is essentially a spiritual practice. They would get up at dawn, do sun salutations. This was also in Zoroastrianism. So you can see how this translates to the Fajr prayer. And then on the other side of the coin, and so of course this child's pose is essentially very physically close to sujood, and it feels good. It is humbling, but it is also soothing. So there's something very fundamental in the sujood, and the sujood is the zenith of the prayer. It's the nadir of your physical head in its position. You invert your crown chakra, you invert that locus of consciousness in the brain down to the earth. But there are also other loci of consciousness, which the Quran talks about. There's the qalb, the heart, and there's also the nafs, which is in the stomach. So that if you are nauseous, it's going to be perhaps worse than if you have a headache. And it's something you would want to avoid. So if we think about the head as a singular focus, we're going to miss the point somewhat. You have a very light intensity exercise in Salah, which allows for stretching, and it allows you to open your heart, not literally, but to rather open the flow of energy and to expand your sensitivity towards your environment, your gratitude towards Allah, what we call shukr, and your sensitivity towards other people, inshallah. That the salah should refill your cup. And then at the level of the brain, you are trying to put your brain into a theta wave position in a short interval. So if we compare this to other types of meditation, there are huge time commitments, a minimum of half an hour. And there are also open eyed and closed eyed variations. So we see, for instance, the director David Lynch is a fan of transcendental meditation, which the eyes are kept closed. And this is supposed to have an indirect dawa effect of lowering crime and raising happiness in the cities in which many people are practicing it, which is an interesting non local supposition. I'm not sure if it's true, but we might imagine that a society where everyone is doing their salah is also going to have lower crime and greater happiness, even if times are tough. This is part of the objective. It's to establish the salah, to achieve greater overall levels of piety and transform the society. But that this is also designed to fit into a busy schedule. So if you work in food service, or you are a student with fixed times, or you're an investment banker, you have a lot of meetings and so on, then you may need to utilize the flexibility in the prayer timings. And that exists in different forms of fiqh. It exists in Hanafi fiqh, it exists in Shafi fiqh, it exists in Jafari fiqh in various forms, and maybe combined prayers. But you're ultimately spending more time in the combined prayer sessions, and you're ultimately spending about 25 minutes a day doing salah. And if you want, you can double up on it. You can do what's called the sunnah, brakas. And so this is something I tend to do on Juma, but I have not managed to integrate into my daily life, because I feel like I need to focus on work. This is okay. But why the minimum? Why take these breaks in the afternoon, shortly after lunch, when you get home and the sun is setting, and before you go to bed and when you wake up? It's to take us out of the busy brain waves and into the subdued theta state. That's at the level of the physical brain. At the level of the kalb, it's to continually reopen us to gratitude towards God. And then at the level of the nafs, if you're sitting a lot, it's helpful to get a little stretch in when you're standing and when you're doing the ruku, bowing, and stretch your legs a little bit. Just de minimis physical movement. The nature of then having these rapid cyclings between textual recitation of the Quran, perhaps with some vocal flourish, tajweed, or a little bit of song, is quite good. Some Salafis might extrapolate their misinterpretations of a broad ban on music to even being against rhythmic recitation, but that's certainly not how it is practiced in Mecca or in general. And of course, Sufis explore those realms and find a lot of beauty in those vocal flourishes, as do I. So that's this putting a bit of song in your recitation can make your salah much more enjoyable. And then at the level of the heart, the idea is that you should come to rest in each position before moving into the next one, rather than approaching it laboriously and trying to move through it quickly. And then nonetheless, you can accomplish that and still make it a very tight system. And then the Salah is open eyed in order to get the focus away from an over buildup of serotonin that we've seen from, for instance, transcendental meditation practices. They might even induce serotonin syndrome, where the brain produces too much serotonin. And you might think, well, serotonin's good. But actually, it's really about the balance of serotonin. Serotonin is a regulator of your sleep. It gets cycled into melatonin, which makes you drowsy. And then there's a reuptake. And then you wake up. And if you're going to bed at a timely hour and waking up as the Fajr time is dawning, you're going to attenuate your natural serotonin rhythm in a very healthy way in order to facilitate those timings. So the anxiety that people feel about, are they invalidating their Salah through a number of technical missteps? This is creating a double consciousness which distracts us from the hushu, which that prayer fiqh was intended for. And likewise, the anxiety about waking up on in time for Fajr, it's not so much that you're going to be punished for waking up late. There's a hadith about that. Just pray when you wake up. It's very chill. But also that the whole point of being able to wake up consistently prior to the sunrise is so that you're having a healthy sleep cycle. You're not staying up too late. You're not having erratic sleep hours. So, this by itself is regulating your brain for the healthiest possible life, for greater productivity. And you can study clinical psychological data about this. The value of regular sleep, which is in alignment with the Earth's circadian rhythms, is dramatic. So, then another point of ritual over analysis is that people move to subtropical realms or even to near polar realms, and they will have more erratic Fajr times over across the seasons. This was not a problem for the people of equatorial regions like Arabia or the Levant or Persia or North Africa or even the Mediterranean. Well, now you're starting to get further north, but once you get to the UK, Sweden, Alaska, then you start to have a problem. And so, for instance, in order to make the Fajr time in the summer, I'm going to wake up at maybe maybe 5:50, maybe 6:20, be a little bit late. And then in my country, we have a 1 hour jump throughout the year, so that does make it easier. And I just adjust my sleep for that 1 hour shift, and it stays within that band. I'm not forcing myself to wake up at 4:50, right? But people belabor this. I really don't think that it's just. I don't think that God is about punishing people for not waking up at 3 a.m. in Alaska, or I think that this is a human extrapolation. So this, if you apply this mindset in general, and you see, this is the same with the haram and halal, which we'll do in another video, but there's actually wisdom underlying everything here. And the wisdom is for you to be maximally healthy, physically, morally, mentally, spiritually. So, likewise, the open eyed form of the Salah is to immerse you in reality rather than overstimulating your serotonin. And a beautiful thing, for people who don't have religion, or for Christians who do a Salah essentially once a week when they go to church, they might drink at night. So they're going to try and downregulate their brains and their nervous systems from the stress of the day. And they think, well, Jesus alayhi salam drank, so it's okay. And maybe they don't get drunk and start uh, beefing with their family members and so on. But it is not great for your health. And there are a lot of people who will go out and they'll have smoke breaks. Nowadays, vaping marijuana has become incredibly normalized in our society. And it's probably better than having two beers every night, truly. But the point is that lots of people in these cultures and the cultures that I come from have lived like this for most of their lives because how else are you going to deal with the day? And this is another purpose of the salah. It's to balance your serotonin and even allow you to have a little bit of a dopamine release that you take joy in the salah. And this is something that you get to earn by putting more joy in the recitation, by taking more time in the sujood, taking when you rise from sujood and say Allahu Akbar, and you can say Allahu Akbar again and go right back into sujood. You could be in the sitting position for half a second, but you could also take 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and really feel it. And it's up to you how long you take. So there's a number of parameters in the salah where you have the right, it's not even something that traditionalists would say is bidah, to take more time, to add more. In the Abadi fiqh, you can add sets of three. In the Subhanallah Rabbi Alim, when you're in ruku, so you can push your ruku further. Um, a lot of people assume that you have to pray dua in Arabic and you have to go learn Arabic duas and memorize more Arabic. No, dua, even Salafis don't say that. You can pray dua freely. You can talk to, I'm having a hard time. God, help me with this. Please help those who are suffering in poverty. Please help the people of Gaza. I'm having a crisis of faith. I don't know. I was reading about the Injil and I'm very confused. Um, and you can cry. You're having a hard time with your spouse. Please help me fix, change my heart, change her heart. You can be so real for it. It's beautiful. It's where you get to breathe spiritually and mentally in your relationship with God. So the dua, I like to do it after the salah. You can make dua at any time, of course. Get in the car, you're about to go on a drive, make dua for safety. You get on the plane, it's just even more so. And but you kind of charge up the dua. So if you make a tahajjud, if you get up in the middle of the night and then you do some different things that you don't usually do, maybe you push it, maybe you do 6 rakas and a witr. And as you heard in my duha recitation, I like to take the witr specifically to have a silent breathing. I might recite the la ilaha illallah to count the breathing, but even that I feel like it's a training wheel. And so I tried to use the Zen Witter. Like I have very few lines of recitation to frame that up, and I mostly am spending about a good 2 minutes in silence, and my eyes will widen, and I really try to anchor myself in that moment, and I try to anchor myself in the awareness of where I am physically and who I am and where I am in time, and I'm on this planet and I'm in this cosmos and I'm in this multiverse and I'm in this fabric of reality that God has woven, and I am a slave of Allah, and I am in a path that has been built up between Allah and myself, trying to cooperate through the guidances, both textual and subtle. And sometimes it really blows my mind. A lot of times I'm in that and I fail and I think about something on the internet. A lot of times I'm in Salah and I'm my mind's I'm thinking about the day. I'm thinking about what I'm going to do next. I think about um, you know, women I like. I think about what I'm going to eat. I'm going to go in and heat up some waffles, and then I'll have something to apologize for it, because they'll not. I'm not taking it to the point of bad self-esteem or over anxiety, but really the point of the salah is to reset your etch a sketch, if you will, and bring yourself into a sort of benefit that people get from much more prolonged meditation in a short time, and then combining that with the theistic gratitude. So there's this emotional and spiritual binding underlying it. It's not simply going to the mental gym for a quick refresh, but it is that too. So I think if you keep these things in mind and really take a little bit of time, and then most importantly is when you're starting the salah. So I'll do this opener: "O he who is beyond all imagination, illusion, analogy, and fancy, the gathering comes to a close, and our lifespan draws to an end. But we're still beginning to describe you based on what we've seen, heard, and read." So that's originally in Arabic, that opener, and I'm like, I'm not going to learn more. I'm not going to memorize more Arabic. I'm just going to do it in English because that's more authentic to me. And then even those words, they're obviously like zooming out and decoupling. In a minute, buddy. And you're gonna you're gonna get it. And it's all there so that you can do it without an opener. They call this the niyam. And you say, well, I went and did wudu. Of course I intend to pray. But the point isn't so much that you have the intent. It's that the niyah is really about opening your mind and your heart up into this funky woo, like quietude, and facing the Qibla, which of course is going to be imprecise if you're far away from it on the other side of the planet. And the earth is, of course, curved. This is an important detail. So you're not going to be in a straight vector towards the Kaaba. But the point also is not the Kaaba itself. The Kaaba is empty. If there was an idol in the Kaaba, you wouldn't want to face it because it would be idolatrous. The point is that it's empty. So the fact that your position is slightly off angle and that it's going over the horizon into the stratosphere and into outer space, if you extrapolate it in a straight line, is either it's beside the point or it is the point. That God is all over. God is beyond these fixed points. It's simply a marker for your allegiance to this covenant. And then you let yourself sink into a cozy wonderment of the akhirah and allow yourself to drift in displacement from the dunya. And that is really the foundation. So I think a lot of people, when they start their salah, they're feeling the trepidation of, am I going to do it wrong? Am I mismemorizing things? I need to get back to work. I'm hungry. I need to do this quickly. And um, that sets you up to not enjoy your salah and to have it consistently feel like a chore. So don't do it that way. Do it the Zen way, inshallah.